Hello everyone, welcome back. Have you been wondering what is the actual proposal? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about for the next few minutes. As I try to explain the proposal, we will have to vote on later this year. Now, we have to do a bit of joining the dots, so to speak, but I'll give it my best try. I'll tell you what I found by doing my research, and I'll share the links in the description below. And if you only take one thing away from this little chat, I want you to ask yourself whether or not the research stacks up against the rhetoric that you're hearing in the media. If you go to the federal government's website on The Voice, you can find the question for the ballot paper. You will also see the proposed alteration to the Constitution, and there's other information there, including fact sheets. A very important part of democracy is the piece of paper that you get handed as you go into that wonderful cardboard booth. So what's on the ballot paper? It says, a proposed law to alter the Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. Do you approve this proposed alteration? Now, at this point, it is your civic duty to only write either yes or no, no ticks or numbers, just one word. As best I can tell, the first time Australians knew of the question on the ballot paper was through the announcement by the Prime Minister in late March this year. Now, we need to do a little shuffle here because on 19 June this year, the Constitution Alteration Bill finished passing through both Houses of Parliament, and this is the bill that sets out the actual words that comprise the alteration to the Constitution. If the referendum is successful, then the Constitution Alteration Bill would, in due course, get royal assent from the Governor-General and go on to become an Act of Parliament, and the Constitution can then be altered. So, what is the proposed alteration to the Constitution? Well, it inserts a new Chapter 9, which is Recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Peoples. And then there's Section 129, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice, which says, in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the First Peoples of Australia, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. The voice, second point, the voice may make representations to the Parliament and the Executive Government on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And the third subparagraph is, the Parliament shall have power to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures. Now, there's a lot there. I skipped a few words, but I think you get the point. It's very broad. There are two really important things we need to talk about. The first big ticket item is that the alteration to the Constitution is not what goes on the ballot paper. Now, have a think about that. Any Australian that walks up to that wonderful cardboard booth on voting day without having done the research will be blissfully unaware that the question on their piece of paper is not really what they are actually voting on. What the voter sees and how the Constitution might be altered are not the same. And I have to say, I've got an issue with this. The second big thing isn't as easy to peg down. I went to the Parliament House website to look at the Constitution Alteration Bill. I read the bill's explanatory memorandum as circulated by authority of the Federal Attorney-General, Mark Dreyfus. The Attorney-General's explanatory memorandum states, and I quote, the proposed constitutional amendment would implement the first element of the Uluru Statement from the Heart to recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in the Constitution through a voice. The memorandum attaches the text of the Uluru Statement from the Heart, and the statement includes a bit that says, and I quote again, we seek a Makarrata Commission to supervise a process of agreement making between governments and First Nations and truth-telling about our history. This is not insignificant because it is a matter squarely on the public record that the Prime Minister is committed to implementing in full the Uluru Statement from the Heart. He even mentioned it in his speech on election night and many times before and since. The Uluru Statement is clearly framed for a treaty or treaties without actually using the word treaty. The expectation of a treaty or treaties is also a matter on the public record from a whole bunch of the Prime Minister's parliamentary team, as well as his Indigenous advisors, including those on his referendum working group. So having looked into all this, as best I can tell, a vote for recognition is actually a vote for voice, treaty and truth-telling. So where do we end up today? I'd like you to have a look at the actual question on the ballot paper and then take a look at the proposed alteration to the Constitution. Ask yourself if there's an issue with the two being out of sync, so to speak. And then, as you take in all the media on what the referendum is about, try to work out the Prime Minister's actual position. Ask yourself whether you think this saga would end at the voice, or is it about the three parts: voice, treaty, truth-telling. So get into some research, get talking amongst yourselves so that when you vote, you know why you are voting one way or the other. That's all from me today. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on those post notifications to stay updated. And please post your comments down below and I will see you soon. No matter what you are up to today, I hope you are having or have had a truly awesome day. Authorised by Wesley Ed of the Centre for Indigenous Training, Albert Street, Brisbane.